Good morning. I am Kristi May from Legend Acres, and I am here with you today for Tuesday's training tips with Tuff. And what I want to talk about today is the difference between obedience and behavior. And what I want to talk about is that there's this misconception out there that behavior is changed by obedience alone. And what I want to address is that any dog can learn how to do sit down stay, and that is still not going to be the do all end all of changing a dog's behavior. However, obedience is used as a tool to change behavior. And so that's what I want to talk about today. Is I want to talk about behavior modification and what that looks like. So behavior modification is just a really fancy way of saying we want to substitute a dog's undesired behavior for a more desired behavior. So this is where that obedience piece comes into play. Our dogs have to have the ability to be able to perform certain tasks, to be able to use those tasks in place of those undesired behaviors, to be able to make a behavior change. So right now I'm going to give you just a quick example. And so let's say that your dog barks when the doorbell rings. And so to be able to redirect that in a dog in a heightened state of emotion, it's going to be very difficult. And that is what most people encounter. And so what happens is they either just let their dog run amok at the door because they're not sure how to stop the behavior, or they start yelling obedience commands at their dog. Okay, well, the problem with that is that one, when your dog is in a heightened state of emotion, it cannot perform obedience commands. You have to be able to turn off that heightened state of emotion to be able to then get them to do the obedience command that you want them to do in place of what's happening at the door. So the fastest way to get there is to teach your dogs a shut-off switch. And so in that shut-off switch, it's going to be seeking. And I'll put a link here to a video that's going to explain seeking in a little bit more detail, because I want to get back to this behavior change here. And once I can turn the dog off, then I can start replacing those behaviors at the door with something like a sit, or a stay, or a wait, or sending the dog away from the door to be able to get somebody inside the door. But first, we have to have some other things in place. So this is where behavior modification, it sounds really simple, but there's some complex things that are happening in behavior modification. One, we have to deal with the emotions that are causing those behaviors. And then two, we have to have those obedience pieces in place to be able to substitute. And so when I say in place, I mean as in you have gone through a proofing process with these cues, and so that your dog understand that sit means sit, not just in your kitchen with a food bowl at dinner time, but can actually do a sit at the front door when there's nobody else coming through the front door, or a sit outside getting in and out of a car, a sit in a parking lot, a sit at the park. Okay, so we're talking about there's some pieces here. Now this is where a lot of people believe that obedience is going to get them where they need to go. The problem with that is that obedience by itself, just taking a dog in a heightened state of emotion and telling it to sit, doesn't solve anything. All of you have encountered that. And when your dog is overstimulated, they are not able to actually perform anything that we need them to perform. So this is where some other pieces need to come into play. And so those additional pieces that help tie this obedience into this behavior change are going to be canine cognition exercises. And we talk a lot about canine cognition exercises in our classes. But canine cognition exercises are how we teach our dogs to turn off that switch. How do we get them to change their focus into what they're focused on, so that we can then redirect them with obedience to be able to get that behavior change, to be able to use that behavior modification to change a behavior for good. Okay, this is a slow process. And when I say slow process is that people get frustrated very quickly into this process because of this. Is they're expecting their dog to turn off their emotion and to do the desired behavior in place of that undesired behavior the first time it's asked. And I'm going to talk about why that's not realistic. The reason that that's not realistic is that our dogs have the emotional intelligence of a 2-year-old toddler. And so if anyone's ever worked with toddlers, you know that teaching a toddler something new, it's going to take several repetitions. So for example, with people, it takes 3 months to develop a new habit. So everyone's heard this whole 21 to 30 days is how you develop a new habit. But that's just the first piece. That's just the first month of deciding that you're going to do things differently. It's going to take the second month before it starts to become more of a routine, and it's going to take the third month until this is how we do things. And so for a person to be able to make change, we're talking about a 3-month process. So let's take that into perspective for a dog who has the emotional mentality of a 2-year-old toddler. What we're going to discover there is that on average, it takes a dog 7 to 77 times of doing something new before it becomes just what they do. And so there is a process here that we need to take dogs through to be able to make behavior change. So just going to an obedience class and learning sit, down, stay is not going to change your dog's overall behavior. And if you have more questions about behavior modification, or you would like to schedule a free assessment to go over your dog's behavior, please contact us at www.legend-acres.com/links. That's going to take you to our quick links page where you can schedule a phone consult. Scheduling a phone consult and getting a phone call is going to be the fastest way to reach our office, as well as the fastest way to schedule an appointment. Because we're going to need to get some information from you and your availability to be able to get you scheduled with an instructor. Behavior modification takes time, and we also offer behavior modification workshops where we give you some very specific protocols on how do you use obedience as that substitution for that behavior change. And so we do have a workshop that's going to be coming up in Tennessee. I believe it's next week, and it's next Monday at Sango Veterinary Hospital. And then we have one coming up in March in Arizona. And again, we offer those also private as well as in those workshops, but those workshops are a good way to get in and get some tools. And so what those workshops are designed to do is to take all of the tools that you learn in our fundamentals course, and then we show you how to use those in an effective behavior modification way. What tools do we use? How do we use them to be able to truly affect change in our dogs? So thank you so much for being with me today. And Tuff did get his 2 cents in there also today. He decided he didn't want to be on camera, but then he decided he wanted to be heard today. But you can reach us at www.legend-acres.com /links,